The James Show Podcast.
The reason why the Nick Shirley video has been seen by more people than saw the Super Bowl, and it happened within a matter of a couple days, isn't the fact that he was showing you that the government was being defrauded or the scale was big. We're used to that. We know hundreds of billions of dollars probably every year gets defrauded out of the government. That's the price you pay if you're going to have social programs. Even and I don't like social programs, but even for the most of the country that does, you understand that no program is going to be perfect, and just because there's going to be a few little criminal masterminds that can figure out how to sneak away a few dollars under the noses of the government watchdogs doesn't mean we should take that away from everybody else. Well, what if it's not just a few criminal masterminds that are sneaking away some money cleverly under the noses of the federal watchdogs? What if it's tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people? And what if they're stealing hundreds of billions, if not, cumulatively over the years, easily trillions of dollars? And what if the noses of the government watchdogs aren't that hard to sneak under? What if they don't even have noses? What if they're not even watching? So with that, there's a viral video that I pulled aside for you. I saw it yesterday. Her name is Savannah Hernandez. This is her reporting. All she did is she's just a regular old Joe, just like Nick and Dave, just like me and you. And she saw the story of, hey, well, the feds say that they're ramping up the investigations into the Somali home healthcare industry. And so she wanted to see, like, is it that easy to bust them? As easy as it was for Nick Shirley to bust the daycares and autism centers and whatever, things like that? Yeah, it's pretty bad.
This is how little these people care about anybody ever coming after them. Now, to give you guys an idea of how Scooby-Doo-esque this nonsense is, let me highlight for you as well what these home care sites look like, because again, this is one of 14 types of fraud. So this is the Grace Care Center LLC in Minnesota. All right. This is their webpage. And I don't know if you guys can see this, but if you read through it, it says, Lorem ipsum dolor sit amet. So this is basically the placeholder when you download a website template and you're supposed to rewrite on the template your information. This is how little these people care about anybody ever coming after them. This is how bold and confident they've been in their fraud that they just would download a website template and then be like, we get $1 million now? Thank you. And the government was like, of course.
Yes, take the money. Just here's a bag of money. Just take it. Just take it. Now we don't have to look at your website. We don't have to look at the paperwork. We don't have to see if there's any cars in the parking lot, any employees, any kids, or any of that. Just take the money. They're just taking money from you and giving it out that easy. Do you understand what she was doing there with the lorem ipsum? You ever seen that before? So if you make a website and you want a template, they'll fill it out for you with text and whatnot, but they don't know what you want in there. So they just fill in like some Latin phrase that starts with lorem ipsum, something or other, like your real text goes here. I don't know what it actually means. It just looks Latin, and I've made assumptions going forward. And it's something that pretty much since the late 90s, we've all been aware of, that they stick in this random Latin phrase in order to fill up the text on a template. And these people were just downloading templates, not even fixing them up, not even filling them in, submitting them, and still getting millions of your tax dollars. So that should make the gut punch just a little bit worse. Not only are they taking money from you and giving it to these fraudsters, they're not even trying to keep it from going into the hands of fraudsters. They can't give away your money to fraudsters fast enough. And remember when all the people were decrying Elon Musk going in with Doge, trying to find some fraud, waste, abuse, whatever you want to call it, in government programs? This is terrible. This is going to kill children. You know what? When you're looking for fraud and someone screams stop, that's who's doing the fraud, right? No one in their right mind should say, no, don't investigate fraud. Leave it in there. Now, why would they be so careless? Number one, it's not their money. It's your money. Screw you. Number two, they're getting a lot of that money on kickbacks. And number three, they're getting a lot of those votes on kickbacks. And that's all that matters. You have a power base of 80,000, 100,000 people who are a little, morally flexible, and they're willing to drain billions out of the taxpayer coffers just so you can get millions of it. There are some people who think that's a good deal. I know you wouldn't do that. I know you're a decent human being, but think like a politician. Think like a grifter. Think like a sociopath. For them, it's like you're an idiot not to take advantage of this. This is brilliant. Luckily, we have this fraud here, and we can import these morally flexible people so I can make a fiefdom of power from whence I will never be knocked. So, yeah, it is that bad. They just had templates for websites. And it wasn't hidden. You didn't have to have a password to go in there. You didn't have to be a client. You didn't have to know any special computer science skills. Savannah typed in the address in a search browser and it came up. That's it. That's all. You mean to tell me the federal government doesn't have the investigative capabilities of Savannah Hernandez? Really? So, jeepers, we're trying to keep your tax money from being defrauded, but if they have complex tools to get around our security protocols, like, I don't know, an internet browser, they aren't even trying. They're still not even trying. And I don't want to hear from anybody else when I say we need to get rid of all social programs. Well, Parker, what are we going to do? How are we going to afford it? Dude, I don't want to hear it. I'm way past that now. It's like being called racist. I'm past that. Doesn't mean anything now. Children are going to die. No, they're not. We already know they're not. We already know you'll say anything. You're not even trying to find fraud. You're not even trying to stop anybody. You're encouraging it. You're celebrating it. You go to their festivals and dance with them. You have fundraisers at their at the restaurants that are defrauding the taxpayers. No one's gone to jail yet, by the way. Isn't that a weird one? And when I say no one, I mean big. No one that you've heard of. No politician. Sure, every once in a while, they'll have to sweep some of the people on the ground, on the front lines, into jail. The 59 people that have already been convicted. But Jacob Fry, you mean to tell me that he's that bad at oversight of taxpayer dollars, Tim Walz? Anybody in D.C. would be nice. No, the powers that be, they need to start going to jail. Because Jasmine Crockett is running for, right now, the primary to be your Democrat candidate for Senate in the state of Texas. And voting is just, 6 weeks away? It's not that long away, but March 6th. I don't know. I should know this. I'll know it when it gets closer, but it's like the first week of March. So she's hitting the campaign trail, and she hit San Antonio this weekend and then put up this video herself. So this isn't something I selectively edited to make her look bad. This is what she put up. Jasmine
Crockett, queen of the liberal tea. Bleach blonde, bad built butch body, Governor Hot Wheels, and he is a hot ass mess, honey. Queen of the liberal tea.
Today's episode is brought to you by the Parker Pour at the Omni Fort Worth Hotel, coming up this Thursday. Live broadcast 2 to 5, happy hour 5 to 7. Come on out and have a good time. Jasmine Crockett in San Antonio. Sorry about the bad audio. It's her microphone too.
I am not sleeping because this is life or death.
Stop.
We have people that are...
She's talking about the ICE thing. This is life or death. It's not life or... Stop gassing these people up. They keep shooting at our ICE agents or blocking their cars or shooting them in Dallas or shooting them in Alvarado or shooting them in McAllen. They shot Charlie Kirk. They shot Donald Trump. Stop with the life or death stuff. Anyway, it really... I try and be fun and lighthearted, but that bears repeating, seeing as how the attacks keep coming.
I am not sleeping because this is life or death. We have people that are dying in this country, and it is a direct result of this administration and those that are standing by idly watching. How many times has someone asked you, how is it that he can do this? Can he do this? How many times have you heard it? Y'all ain't heard it? Oh, okay. It's because people are cowards. It's because they forgot that they swore an oath to the Constitution and not to an individual.
Man, where were all these constitutionalists during COVID? I think these constitutional purists. How dare you violate someone's constitutional rights? Well, what if I want to go to my grandmother's funeral while there's a George Floyd protest? Well, they can protest, but you can't go see your funeral, your grandma. Life or death. They are just running headlong into this. So either they don't care how reckless their verbiage excites people to do dangerous things, or they want it. But there's no way they can't know. There's no way any rational person will look at what happened, and it doesn't even matter whose side you're on, if you're on Team Blue or Team Red. We should all be able to look at the good video. And even if we come to different conclusions about whether or not it's murder, we should say, hey, Maybe we should discourage people from interfering with law enforcement while they're in the middle of a raid. And if that doesn't get brought up ever, then they are not concerned about the well-being of the protesters. They're concerned with how well this plays politically. And now you're getting into some weird sociopathic territory here. Because you got to think, if this is good for business, and what happens if they get more people to sacrifice their lives, to be just cannon fodder, sacrificed at the altar of Team Blue narrative? I know it's hard for you to hold this thought in your head, but there's a lot of people out there who see more violence, more chaos as their vehicle to get ahead, and that doesn't bother them at all. They don't care if people get hurt or died. And I'm not saying the average Team Blue or Team Red voter, but there's legit sociopaths out there. There's legit psychopaths out there. They definitely believe it. And then there's this weird gray area that we've started developing here, that they weren't born sociopaths or psychopaths, but you keep telling them these evil guys on the other side of the fence are bloodthirsty, racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, Nazi people who hate you and want to genocide you and oppress you and grind you underfoot for sport. At some point, even a rational person would be prone to violence in a situation like that. So no, they're not tapping the brakes on any of that at all. Because remember, that doesn't come in the vacuum. I know you weren't here in the first segment, so I'll play it again. Let's go back to the very first reporting on this shooting. I go to a local station, Channel 5 in Iowa. She's a poet, a mother.
37-year-old Renee Nicole Macklin Good was a U.S. citizen born in Colorado and a mother of 3. In social media accounts, she described herself as a poet, writer, wife, and mom. Hours after the shooting, hundreds gathered for a protest and vigil nearby. Trump administration officials painted Macklin Good as a domestic terrorist who had attempted to ram federal officials with her vehicle.
They're driving people crazy. This would drive, if you believe this, it would make you a crazy person. If you believe, remember, there's a lot of people who watch TV and they're like, oh, I'll believe all that. God, that's terrible. I can't believe they did that. She was a poet? I mean, what kind of terrible reporting is that? How many people are actually poets in America? 4? There's almost a 0% chance. If you were to it's a rounding error, the likelihood that she's actually a poet for a living. So why did they describe her as such? Well, this is something glowing we found on Facebook that we can pass along like it's the gospel truth. Don't you think the more important aspect of her life and her hobbies, if not her career, was the fact that, I don't know, she liked to harass ICE? She was part of activist groups that talked about harassing ICE and interrupting their flow and bothering them and harassing them on raids. That doesn't get a mention. So that's terrible. On one hand, you have Jasmine Crockett telling them racist, sexist, bigot, homophobes on the other side of the fence. On this side of the fence, what do you have? Not an activist who kept harassing, who kept FAing so long, she finally FO'd. Does everyone get that one? You get that one, Garrett? FAFO? Yeah. So she FA'd just over and over. How long has she been following these guys? Is this the first ICE raid that she interrupted? Is this the second? Is this the first day she did it? Were they at another location earlier that day and she was there? Were they at another location yesterday and she was there? You know, they talked about, hey, you know, we don't change our plates every day. Well, how often do you encounter these people? Oh, you must know that they change their plates. Wow, how long have you been doing this? How many of these raids have you been to? Because if all of America got to hear the real story, they would lose sympathy for the woman. And you wouldn't necessarily change your mind, but you could admit a little gray area. But when you start stacking it up, she's an activist, has been following these guys around. What if she'd been following them around for months? And so what does she do? She keeps getting a little bit braver and braver every time, because the last time she pulled up and blocked the road and they came to her, when they pulled on the handle, she drove off and got away scot-free. I got to break the law and get away with it. I'll see you guys tomorrow. So did she just do this over and over and over and over until it wound up bad for her? We need to know this, but only if you want to prevent future incidents from happening. If you want more violence and tragedies like this, because her death still is a tragedy. Just because you feel less sympathetic for it. Yeah, she's a mom. There's 3 kids that lost their mother. That's terrible. This shouldn't have happened. She shouldn't have been encouraged to do this. They shouldn't have been telling her that this has never happened before. This just isn't our country, Mark Ruffalo. This is in our country. But Barack Obama was doing it at a faster clip, saying this is what everyone's agreed on for the last half century. Was everybody here for that soundbite, or do I need to play it again? Here, I'll play it real quick. Just the second half of this.
Only lawful. They're the kinds of actions taken by every single Republican president and every single Democratic president for the past half century.
So she hadn't been doing this her whole life. She wasn't blocking ICE when they were doing their job against Obama, deporting 5 million people. She was trained. She was brainwashed. She was propagandized into thinking that this is the right thing to do. This is heroic to fight Nazis. And it cost her life. Protester here in America, and I guess he's not really protesting. Would this be like a supportive rally?
I used to be a Democrat. I stood by you guys because you promised us liberty, justice, diversity. This is not diversity. Your silence is complicit. Democrats, wake the damn up. This is not okay. Iranian people right now, they're in prison. They're in prison. They're in complete digital blackout. How can you be silent?
So there we are. That's the American side of the story. And, Iran, I hope it falls, but I always have this duality on regime change where people say, well, it can't get worse than the Ayatollahs. Yeah, it can, actually. And we've seen that happen many times, plenty of times. For the worst countries in the world, that's pretty much the scenario. Think about it like this. Whoever was before Fidel Castro, when he had the revolution in 1959, I know his name's General Batista, but most people don't know that. Was he worse than Fidel Castro? No. He was a bad guy, but we all celebrated when that guy got knocked over. I know you weren't alive. Just stick with me, damn it. And it got worse. Things got worse. Whoever was running Libya before Gaddafi, were they better or worse? Whoever was running Afghanistan before the Taliban, besides us, the Taliban the first time, they were pretty bad guys. When the Soviet Union was invading Afghanistan, we supported the Taliban. We're like, where's those fun guys that you guys always play with? What were they? Al-Qaeda? Yeah, great group of guys. Let's give them a bunch of guns and missiles. What could possibly go wrong? So we've come to regret many of our overseas excursions. Not all of them. Iraq seemed to turn out better. South Korea is definitely better than if we hadn't intervened. Panama, that seemed to turn out okay. So it's kind of a hit or miss thing. So I'm cautiously optimistic, but it really is hard to imagine anyone worse than the Ayatollahs being in charge in Iran. And that country is probably number one on my list for the biggest disconnect on how we feel about the people of Iran and the government of Iran. Iran, one of the worst governments in the world. It's a theocratic socialism. They have price controls. They have universal free, all kinds of stuff. They have all kinds of the programs that Mom Donnie's asking for right now. But on top of that, they're a theocracy. So you kind of get the worst of both worlds, worst of the social worlds and, cultural worlds, and worst of the economic worlds. But, they're sneaking some pictures out, some videos out. And some of them, they're like, look, this is a mosque on fire. It's like, what? A mosque on fire? Are they rebelling against the religion? I mean, something different where I'm from. So more to be had on that. This is Jim and Alan. If you want to be after Jim, 800-288-9227. Hey, Jim.
Yeah, I just want to back up to the Minnesota so-called protesters. I wonder why they are not being charged as insurrectionists, because they're interfering with legal operations like that, and they oppose the law itself. And that needs to be stopped. I mean, if they want to do something about it, it should be done in the legislature or in courts, not out on the streets. And I think they need to be treated exactly the same way that the January 6th so-called insurrections. This time, they're just guilty as charged, because it's just painfully obvious that they're doing things, in violation of laws and against the due process of the United States of America.
Well, I don't want to misuse the term insurrection just because they misused it against January 6ers. But what they're doing is, without a doubt, illegal. You're not supposed to. There's statutes on the books that say you can't interfere with the law enforcement while they're executing their duties. You can't just go up and stop them and block them when they're making an arrest. So I think along your train of thought, what we should really be asking for here, Jim and Alan, is that these ladies, if they have been harassing these ICE officers for a long time, this wasn't the first little 3-minute cut we've seen with them. They should have been arrested long ago. And they shouldn't be allowed to get away with it as much as they got away with. If they've done what we saw on that video over and over and over, obviously without getting shot, I think we're going too light on them. All we have to do is enforce the law as we see fit. Because just like they're having all kinds of crazy protests in Minneapolis this weekend, they tried to have them in Austin, and we shut that down. We didn't let them block streets. Why? It's illegal. So what are you going to do? You're going to arrest us all? We'll arrest as many as we can. And so, yeah, I love that idea, Jim, and I think a lot of people see that. Either all protesters need to get the J6 treatment or none of them do. But really...
Well, I'm ready to go, Buck, for it. Because they're not going to learn any lesson until they get treated the same way that they dished it out to other people. They have no right to do that to the January 6th people.
Well, we're not going to shoot their presidential candidate. We're not going to firebomb their friends' auto dealerships. We're not going to shoot their thought leaders in the neck. But no, I get your point. We'll treat them not even half as bad as they treat us, and that'll teach them their lesson.
Well, I'm talking from a legal standpoint. To charge them with insurrection, leave them for 4 years in the kind of conditions that they left our people in, and let them learn, hey, we're not putting up with it anymore. You've had it, and we're going to take the law and use it in the way it should have been done, and you will find out what it's like when the truth comes out.
We all love that, Jim and Alan. Thanks for calling in. Appreciate it, sir. My current guest from the Heritage Foundation, Diana Furt-Gott-Rott. Welcome back to the James Show, and let's discuss how it's looking now, and then the forecast for 2026. Because I saw Elizabeth Warren said earlier today that President Trump is starting to sweat over the economy. What do you think about that, Diana?
Well, our economy is the envy of the world. We have 4.4% unemployment rate. We have 4.3% GDP growth rate. We have a really strong economy. And so many countries in the world would like to have our economy. Now, on the jobs creation, it was a little bit low, but we expect that to pick up. We have a low unemployment rate, but we also had low jobs creation last month. But we expect that to be picking up as the One Big Beautiful Bill Act takes effect and those tax provisions kick in, allowing businesses to write off their expenditures rather than depreciate them. No tax on overtime, no tax on tips. And that will really grow the economy, James.
So if I want to try and look at headwinds in the economy, number one, tariffs, but I guess that could get sorted out any day now with a couple of deals being signed. The other one is inflation, and then thus the underlying concern I have is from the deficit, the annual deficit, which neither party seems to be very serious about, which I imagine inflation is going to continue to burn. You know, 2.7 now? I mean, that's hotter than I want.
Right. Inflation's about 2.7%. We're going to get new inflation numbers tomorrow and the next day. The consumer price index is coming out tomorrow. The index for producers is coming out on Wednesday. So we'll have a lot more information. We'll also have information about retail sales. So that will give us more information about how the economy is doing, and it'll guide the Fed as to what to do in its meeting in late January.
Yeah, well, I like some of the tax changes. I like the deregulation. But what do you say to someone like me who's concerned about tariffs and inflation?
So the president is using tariffs as a negotiating tool to try to get rid of some non-tariff barriers put up by other countries. And take Europe, for instance, the EU. They have these rules coming into effect that say that if large American companies do not reorient their operations towards net zero and they don't reveal their emissions of their companies, their contractors, the contractors of their contractors, they're not going to be allowed to sell in the EU. Now, that's what we call a non-tariff barrier. And President Trump's threats of tariffs are going to be able to get regulations such as this changed. And I'll give you another example. France, it says it doesn't want to import American vehicles because they come on ships and there are emissions caused by ships. But France does not mind exporting its own Renaults and Peugeots to South Africa, where they also go on ships. So this is an example of fake barriers to U.S. goods. And the threat of tariffs makes these countries backpedal on these regulations they're putting up to American companies. They're using American companies as piggy banks. They're putting all kinds of taxes on them, all kinds of fines on them that we do not do to European companies.
Yeah, and I think they've about regulated themselves out of being anywhere near the AI hunt. This seems to be something that's going on with East Asia and America, and Europe's just a non-starter. And there's a whole new era of technology because they're so picky about their regulations.
Yeah, they're deindustrializing because of their net zero regulations. They're losing employment. Their growth is stagnant. And they come to us to ask for help defending Ukraine against Russia. It makes absolutely no sense for them to be running their economies into the ground deliberately and then coming to ask us for help. So using the threat of these tariffs, President Trump has managed to get countries to change their minds. So when Canada was going to put a digital service tax on the United States, it announced this on Friday. On Saturday, President Trump announced there was going to be a tariff. By Sunday, they had rolled back this digital services tax. This was sometime last fall.
I remember that. All right. Well, good stuff. From the Heritage Foundation, Diana Fertgott-Roth, thank you very much for being on the James Show. Talk a little economy with us.
It's great to be with you, James.
Yeah, you have to force yourself into the economic discussion because if it disappears from the headlines, that means it's probably good news. All right, reminder, coming up Thursday, the first Parker Pour. We're going to make this a monthly event, but I'm not going to tell you the next date. But this Thursday will be the first one. Omni Fort Worth Hotel. Downstairs is a bar called Whiskey and Rye. That's where I'm going to be doing the show live from 2 to 5. And then me and you can hang out from 5 to 7 and have a little happy hour action there. Come out, say hi, meet me, get a selfie. More importantly, meet other WBAP listeners like yourself. You know, it's nice to find like-minded friends and people in your peer group, and being social has gotten so awkward now that everyone's trying to hook up with apps and whatnot. But I don't know, maybe we can make a love connection. Who was that when we were playing the game on Friday? There was a couple people we were trying to get to hook up at the Parker Pour. It's not a meat market, but I wouldn't be upset if it became one. So come on out. I'll be there from 2 to 7 total. I'll probably be there a little bit past 7, but come on out, say hi. I'd love to meet you. Come see the show live. There's not a whole lot of jazz. I'm not going to be wearing like a sequins leotard or anything. It's just going to be me and some guy named Garrett. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
The James Show Podcast.